All right, Darius, what you got for us today?
Well, it's a conversation about plants, right?
Well, you're clearly covered by one. Yeah.
I mean, you can say that this title of the podcast might be called Everybody's a Plant.
Right.
So let's talk about it.
As cheesy as that sounds, I think it's going to fit. Let's get into it.
Said, but I just didn't want to forget it. Can you talk about industry plants a little bit? Like, I hear that term a lot.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I don't even know what it means.
You know what that means to people? And it's so funny because the prerequisite years ago used to be you had to be an industry plant. And what industry plant means is basically like, we only know you because the industry planted you here. Well, that used to be the only way you could be known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Think about it, right? It's like the first time I heard J. Cole was 2009 on Blueprint 3 on A Star Is Born.
Pause that real
I remember
quick.
I bought Blueprint 3.
It actually reminded me, I'm trying to think, the first time I got juiced, speaking of the first time people heard something, so this one doesn't count necessarily for Californians or Los Angeles-based people like that. But, well, no, you from
California. Yeah.
Yeah, so never mind. LA people like myself. The first time I got juiced for Kendrick is when I heard him on Drake's album.
Really?
Yeah. But I've been hearing him as K-Dot forever.
Okay.
But I got juiced when I heard him on Drake's album. And I was like, oh, he's on.
I mean, that's especially if you're hearing from a different lens of someone bumping around the street to actually hearing on the radio or hearing like on a big artist.
Hearing on a big artist album, that was huge for me. So yeah, no, I just wanted to throw that in there. That's
3 and Cuddy's debut on the same day, September 9th, I think, 2009, right? September 13th, something like that. That was the first time I heard J. Cole. Then I heard the warm-up, and it was a rap, and I was a fan.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
That was industry
plant
by industry plant standards, because first time I hear he's on a Jay-Z album, that's a crazy
I
introduction.
think he was already signed to Jay.
But it's like, that used to be
I grew up in Queens, and he went to St. John's, I believe, and he was like, I saw him handing out.
Right, so you were like early in that way, but it's like
before he was done.
It's like you used to only be able to find out about artists if the industry pushed that. And then the internet opened up. And
so, what's my man with the braids and the beanie on?
That's a good question.
Yeah, don't worry about it. But he brought up a good point so back to my point with K-Dot. Like, I remember listening to K-Dot, like HNIC, like the mixtape, what's it? The one where he did the Lil Wayne piece on his eyes. Anyway, I've been following his career. So for me, I got excited when I heard him on Drake's album. But like Russ said, this might be the first time people are introduced to him. So they might be screaming industry plant.
Oh, 100%. I mean, for me, tell me when to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
We heard that stuff way before y'all heard it.
That's very true.
This is all that localization of music where it's like it is part of who you are in the culture, but then the masses start hearing it's like, who the fuck is this dude?
Where did this come from?
Yeah.
I think we got enough of it. Do we have? Is there more you want to play this?
No, I think it's good. I think
okay,
it's good.
I think we can get to a conversation.
All of my, I just want all of my chips.
What's going on with you, ladies and gentlemen? It's your man, the meticulously multi-talented Mark W. coming at you one more time yet again. How are you? Welcome to Artistry Ascending right here on Track Life. I'm not by myself. The setting is a little different today. We got my man, that guy, Darius, the producer of Artistry Ascending, on camera with us. You're going to be seeing him kind of ducking in and out behind the plant. I tried to get him to join me on his couch, but he wants to be secluded and not seen. It's all right.
I mean, you can't plant me in the system, bro.
But you're already a plant.
It's true.
So if you couldn't tell, today we're talking about industry plants. What is an industry plant? Where does the term come from? And what does it mean to be called one today? Me and Darius have been talking about this off and on for the last couple weeks. And today we just gonna sit and talk about it. Now here's what's interesting. We were watching that Russ clip, that Russ interview, and he goes on to talk about a lot of the same stuff we already discussed. But let's, you have things on your docket. What are we getting into on this segment?
I mean, I think the one thing we've been using this term for years. I think it resonated mostly in hip hop.
Right.
But I think for the people, what is a description or definition of an industry plant? So
go ahead. You want me to read it?
I want you to read it. You got I'm just a plant. Everybody's just a plant.
Oh my God. All right. So I'm a terrible out loud reader, so I'm gonna do my best. An industry plant is an artist who has major / indie label backing their movement, but presents themselves as a homegrown startup label to create a pseudo-organic following. Oh, okay. So this goes on to what? Okay, hold on. Now let me keep reading. They act as if they are miraculously, I'm saying that right?
Yep.
Yeah, miraculously, it was meticulously. So that's why I was confused. Miraculously happening for them based on their talent via blog coverage, media coverage, MTV playing their music videos, yada, yada, yada. The reality is a low risk, high reward situation for labels looking to build the next new star. Okay, so, and they say, they go on to say Justin Bieber is an industry plant. That is crazy, actually.
We got to remember, look what the year is. June 26, 2015.
That is crazy. Okay, so that definition does make a good point where it says it is somebody who is already put in position but labeled as a homegrown success, right?
100%.
So here's my issue with that, though. My issue with that is what sells?
Popular music.
Does it sell? I mean, today, yes, it does, but the narrative doesn't sound as sexy if it's like, I've been doing this for 20 years and I did one song that went viral and now the world is at my feet. As opposed to saying, somebody heard me one day and I just popped off.
I mean, I think hip hop gets a very strong title. But
yeah,
we talk about this all the time. Music, anything that's creative, anything that is you creating something that is going to be put out to the masses, whether it's music, movies, DJing, artwork, there's always going to be this unknown factor of, well, why the fuck are you famous?
Mm-hmm.
Not asking where you came from. Right. Not asking, well, what got you here?
But why are you
here? And I think we ask that question countless times with the media, especially with social media.
Absolutely.
How does this constantly keep happening? How does this conversation still continue to happen where the evolution of the industry plan is always going to keep growing stronger and stronger? And now I always ask this for you as an artist, as a fan, because remember I'm a DJ and I just like to play music, but as an artist, do you feel that has always been something that's been brought to your attention as an artist?
Like the concept of industry plan?
Yeah, like do you see like a homie of yours or someone you used to roll with and like boom, they're on stage with songs, so you're like...
I'll say this. It's all of a sudden they're on and they're popping. So I have two friends like that actually. I don't mind saying their names. Just so y'all know at home, I normally don't. I wouldn't mind beeping it out. That wouldn't be a bad move. Oh, that reminds me of something me and Shai used to do. He never liked his real government name to be said on air when we spoke. So I would literally beep it. Anyway, so I got two friends that blew up. I don't like to, blew up is a relative term, but I don't like to say their names out loud because it seems like I'm flexing. But first one would be Mickey Monday.
Okay.
I knew him as JJ the Kid. We were just clown dancers together.
Okay.
So seemingly, y'all would know him from Love and Hip Hop LA, right? But he got on at a young age. We were still in high school when he showed up on the Fame. It was like, think of it like an American Idol style, but you had to be a triple threat, act, sing, dance.
Okay.
And he got on there, and I don't think he won. I can't remember. We showed up at one of the tapings one of the days, actually. If anybody sees Fame, Debbie Allen's television show, you'll see me, a young me with the big old white airbrush t-shirt, screaming his ass off. But there was that was in high school. Then he was in the pit battle ring with Diamond Supply.
Okay.
Diamond Lane, excuse me. Oops. Diamond Supply is the clothing company. Diamond Lane, I'm talking about with Problem, Bad Luck. That might be a little too underground LA for you. My bad. So he the pit battle leagues or the pit circuit, that was like underground battle rap.
Okay.
And you had to really get your chops up. He got really known that way. We had since disconnected at that time, but he was still cool. Anytime I saw him out and about, he was still cool in the street and all that. But then when he got into hip hop, Love and Hip Hop LA, all of a sudden, who is Mickey Monday? Who is this person? That, in theory, that could be an industry plant. And then it was obviously the latest one, D Smoke.
Yeah.
D Smoke comes from a family of musicians.
Yeah.
He's been around musicians his whole life.
And we talked about that last time, where it's like each of them had different paths
Right.
of how you were introduced to them without knowing that they're siblings.
Without knowing who they were, really. He's lucky enough to not have the industry plant stamp on him. But it's easy to put that on him because he blew up off of Hustle, Rhythm and Flow.
Yeah.
I was about to say Hustle.
Great movie, by the way.
It's a great movie.
So as we talk about the evolution of the term industry plants, because we talked about this before, everyone's a plant.
Right, we talked about that.
The term plant used to be formed, you could probably say, sellout.
Yeah.
We talked about
Wait,
this.
we use that selling out?
Some people say that sellout was the original term before in hip hop.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, they're just selling out to the masses.
Right.
It's no longer part of the culture no more. So that's like them selling out. So like that's the machine pushing them to be in front of bigger parties. Where hip hop became, as it got bigger. By the way, great podcast for you to check out. Will Smith, class of 1998.
What?
You should check that out. Everyone should check that out.
That's a podcast?
He interviews, because you got to remember, he's part of that whole class of 88 artists.
Right.
And they talk about
first rap Grammy Award winner.
And they talk about that whole idea of how the older rappers, which was not that crazy, Run DMC looking at them as like, you guys are selling out because you're not talking about what's happening.
That's crazy that Run DMC would call the Fresh Prince a sellout.
It's not even just a Fresh Prince, like Kool Mo D, all these other...
Kool Mo D, I can see him calling them.
Cool
Actually, no, not even Kool Mo D. Kool Mo D was... Kool Herc, now that I can see. Kool Herc was a real one.
So like all those original cast members of hip hop, we're talking about in the park, in the dark, like looking at them, because it's the same thing we talk about like with athletes.
Yeah.
The platform that you were part of wasn't as big as it is. There was no such thing as hip hop as a mass media thing. Mm-hmm. So when you started from the ground up and you're seeing now these other people get the notoriety that you weren't getting, you're like, oh, they're just selling out because see, they're trying to do concerts and stuff like that. So like the evolution of that term sell out turning to industry plan is like, I always feel like it's just part of that conversation of you're succeeding past where you already started.
Right.
And somehow someone who has a lot of money, someone who doesn't have a big platform gets the opportunity to be in front of a bigger audience.
No, absolutely. And you're now in a position to capitalize on the opportunity. But I think it goes down to, like you said, it's low key like I'm hating on you for succeeding. Because you've gotten to a place that I feel like I can't get to, or I feel like wasn't deserved, or you didn't get there the same way I got here. Talking about like a Kool Herc or Run DMC or something like that. You didn't get to this place like I get to, not understanding really what that person's story is, honestly.
Yeah.
Because if we look at, like he brought up, J. Cole. If we look at J. Cole and just saw him pop up on Jay-Z's album, what? You're on, at this point, the God MC on your first time out.
And he chose you. Out of all the pickings he can have in the industry,
right?
He chose this kid that we didn't know who was from Carolina at the point.
Yeah, right. Did we? No, we didn't know he was from Carolina.
He was living in New York, going to St. John's,
right?
Handing out CDs. So you're like, oh, is this kid from New York? Where was he from?
Right.
So he must be from Brooklyn then. So he must Jay-Z might know him.
Yeah,
so it's like
it could really go in there. It could really spiral off. So like, how did you get there? Oh, you were fabricating. You're not real. Here's my whole thing with that, though. Let's run with that idea that, yes, you were handpicked. You were made to be here. Guess who I said this on my Instagram story, guess who still has to press play? The people.
The plant.
No. The plant doesn't press play. I mean, everybody's a plant. Yeah. I'm talking about the consumer. Bless America.
Everybody's a plant.
Yeah, I'm talking about the consumer. The consumer still has to press play.
Oh, 100%.
And ultimately, they still judge if this is real or not. And I feel like people can tell when it's real. Or back to what you were saying, if they sold out. They sold or not. You know, and I think that's what they're really talking about. Because selling out, like we said off air, you want to sell out. I want to sell out an arena.
I mean, who doesn't?
Right. I want to sell out of copies of my merch. But when you sell your soul, I mean, you did something you ain't necessarily proud of doing to get there. That's when it's, yeah.
So I have another question about that. So like we're talking about industry, getting backing behind it. So how much of an artist's image and sound is shaped by the label versus the artist's own vision?
Ooh.
When it comes to the industry plant conversation.
Okay, so if we're looking at, as it relates to the definition, because I do like that definition an awful lot, and that's definitely modernized. But if we're looking at it in terms of authenticity, the label is always going to push you into a direction in which they feel they can market.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have a look, and let's just take, for example, Ice Spice. If you have a cute stripper look, because that's what she has to me. My brother showed me her music video. It took me a while to realize she was rapping. It took me a while to realize it was her rapping. Because for me, the voice didn't match the body it was coming from. So if you have that look, considering the climate and time that we're in, okay, you got that IG model look, you got this little Coke bottle figure, everybody's in, let's go ahead and put you in some Daisy Dukes, crop top. I think she was already doing the thing with her hair, so you already got that.
Yeah.
You already got that popping for you that already stands you out. So I think the label definitely has heavy influence in terms of, if we're talking about an industry plan for the strictest of senses of, we are picking up this person and making them into something that they're not. Yeah, if you already got a certain look going for you, yeah, they have heavy influence.
So another artist that always comes to mind is Chance the Rapper, who's always been labeled the industry plant from day one.
That's crazy to me.
And from my history of understanding is because he's from Chicago, South Side Chicago, I believe. He happened to run into Ye. Ye overheard Coloring Book.
Right.
So that, as a fan, as an artist, hearing another music that resonates with you, he's faulted by this, having someone who just has to be the biggest artist at the time, being like, oh, I like your music, and this tweet in Coloring Book, and it's like, oh, who's Chance the Rapper?
Ooh.
And now he's performing on big stages.
Right.
But if you're from Chicago, people I know, you heard all these other albums, mixtapes, or small little demos that he was making.
Absolutely.
It just happened to be just like we talked about before, like with Big Sean.
Big Sean.
Right time, right place?
Right.
Or
right.
industry idea of just being there is like, no, the industry wanted him to be there.
So, yeah, there's no such thing as, actually, let me take that back. You cannot get in a place to be able to spit in front of, present in front of, seemingly by accident. Like J. Cole being at the studio, Jay-Z was, J. Cole, all these J's.
Yeah.
J. Cole being in front of Jay-Z's studio to be able to present him with the demo didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like he got a phone call
Come to the studio
at 2 a.m, yo, pull up. No, somebody had to track, Jay-Z's gonna be here, I got this information from this person, all that, and you did certain things. And then before that, you had to make sure your stuff was polished enough so that when you're presented with the opportunity, you ready to go. You can't just be like, oh, I rap. You see it all the time where somebody walks up to, I see a lot of my people do it, go up to an iced tea, go up to an exhibit, and they just spit in front of them and they're like,
cool.
Okay.
I didn't ask for that, but thank you.
Right.
God bless you, sir.
And they're gonna be nice to you because you're clearly a fan of mine. So I don't want to lose you as a fan. And I also don't want to crush your spirit as an MC. Do your thing. Okay, keep it going. But if you want to be taken seriously like a Big Sean was, like a J. Cole was, like a Chance the Rapper was, like you brought up, you got to make sure that you're doing the work. So it's hard for me to believe the industry plant for a Chance the Rapper, especially when I've seen his come up in the underground with mixtapes and all that. It's hard for me, and seeing him spit like them little Vine videos going viral.
Oh yeah.
Where he was spitting at the lunch table and all that. Same thing with Childish Gambino. Like, it's hard for me to say, like, that's an industry plant person when it's not an accident that person is there.
So to that point, when they do get signed to a label, or they're part of a label, or they're planted, how much power do you feel they have of their image versus the label's image? Because you said, like, oh, you're this type of rapper or you're type of singer. But you know what? What's selling right now?
Yeah.
We need a little bit more of a Taylor Swift from you.
Ooh, okay.
And a good example I always bring up is Pink. A lot of people forget Pink first introduction to us was the most poppiest, most bubblegum, TRL, top 10.
I would say they really try to push her in the R&B soul lane.
But what did she want? Who was she really though? Her true fans or people who knew her.
Yeah.
That's not her.
Yeah, no. She's a
She's a punk rocker.
Yeah, punk rock, low key, a little emo. But yeah, because even when her signing, she was not Pink.
No, that whole was created.
Yeah, that was a whole creation that she just made because she had to leave her group prior to that.
So that's why people feel like she was an industry plant, where the term industry plant always comes into me, where it's like, you can sense real being real is like, oh, this is another version of ... Oh, I get, we need another ...
Yeah.
So, okay, she who she is.
The machine is always gonna kick out what they know to work. We've seen this product work before. We want this type of product because we want it to work for us. I think when it comes down to is what is the response? They're gonna try whatever they can to replicate. But so to answer your question, the label is going to heavily massage the situation until the people don't gravitate to it because they can tell it's not real.
True.
And then the artist has to speak up. Now, go deeper into that conversation. The artist needs to, this day and age, so that the label doesn't have any pushback. Take, for example, a Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle. Shout out to ORG. You have to already come with your game plan and vision intact. When he comes to a label, or when a label comes to him, however, I think he ended up partnering with them, but you can then kind of dictate how things run. And I think that's what the audience obviously really wants. They want to see championships like that, championship stories. Although the road to get there, because I remember watching Curtis King talk about this.
Shout out to Curtis King.
Shout out to Curtis King. We got to have you on the show.
I heard that you guys are related, but not related.
You know what?
If you watch
we talked about that on the last episode. We're not related.
On the Flint Hills podcast, shout out to the Flint Hills team.
Yeah. We talked about that.
Two light-skinned brothers cannot be the farthest apart from each other.
You know what I'm saying? It's all good. We're going to have him on the show one day when we get our bars up. But listen, I think he got a lot of flack for his pay-to-play album.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
He got a lot of flack.
Oh.
Like a lot of hate. But now all of a sudden, people are adopting the pay-to-play model for himself. So I think if you're going to take the route of not being a quote-unquote industry plant, you're going to have to ruffle a lot of feathers on the level that you're at now. A lot of people are going to have to look at you like you crazy.
I mean, would you say there's a gray area, though? So the reason why I say a gray area is like being authentic versus manufactured. You kind of touched on it a little bit.
Right.
How do you define being authentic in the music industry, and why is it valued?
Jeez, that's loaded.
We talk about loaded conversations here, Mark.
Yeah, no, that's loaded.
Let's talk about it.
So how do you, let's talk about it. Using my words against me. You're going to have to be authentic to what it is that you value. Because make no mistake, at the end of the day, you're trying to sell something. Whether it's yourself, whether it's a third-party product, or whether it's just the music itself and the idea behind the music, something has to be sold. So you're going to have to do a little something to sell it. Not like a little something, you know what I mean? Like that, but you're going to have to go a little bit further than you're used to sell it. Like a Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to, yes, you can get it for free on Dat Piff or whatever it is you get your mixtape. But if you really support me, you'll pay $100. That's a little crazy. That's going a little bit beyond yourself. If you're trying to keep it authentic, I think in that sense, you're going to have to stick to your value system, your core beliefs. Anything beyond that, if you try to change that, then you're not being authentic anymore. But anything beyond that, it's the game you're in. You're going to have to sell something. So have to bend a little bit. So
can an artist say an artist is generally this talented? They're just the gifted, most gifted. Like we talking about Ryan Leslie, boy genius. Gifted.
Ryan Leslie, this is an unpopular opinion, but I think he's talented. I think he's a musical genius. He's a little corny to me.
And I think that, and this is where I get to the whole,
Okay, got you.
can they still be considered an industry plant, knowing that they're so gifted and corny,
Yeah.
but can you also manufacture that whole idea of like creating a persona for him? Whereas like there's someone who's so gifted, but we don't have something, he's still missing or she's missing something, but let's just work with them.
Okay, so here's why that works though. I see where you're going. Here's why that works for him though. I know that's really him. He wants to show up to the studio in a leisure suit
and nerd out
and get the aviator specs on, the $3,000 watch, and that's his thing. That's what I think is corny, but that's what he wants to do. And I know that's him because of how he walks around with that on.
But is his music fire though?
His music fire.
So do you still listen to him as a corny artist, knowing that he's talented as shit?
Yeah.
But thinking like, oh, maybe the industry's trying to push this corniness on me?
No, I don't. But that's the thing. And I think that's where I'm getting at. It's like he's corny, but I know that's him. Like Tyler, the Creator, when he first came out.
Oh, I love Tyler, by the way.
Yeah, I love Tyler.
I'm talking about dark, young Tyler.
See, that's what I didn't like.
For me,
I respected him, I respected him, but I couldn't get with. But I knew that was him because I knew kids like that.
Exactly. That's why for me it resonates so much with me because I'm like,
I still know a kid like that.
because he's like, there's that manufacturer that you can't buy.
Right.
And I think that's like the always the idea of the industry plans. Like there's a manufacturer that you can't buy versus you have to create for them.
And that's the thing. When it's manufactured,
you
you can't keep it up.
No, because it has a shelf life.
It absolutely does. It has that little barcode at the bottom where it says sell by. That's
usually that means we packaged it a couple of weeks ago and you got 2 days before you.
Hey, if you were in the retail industry or the produce industry, you understand like the sell by, it's a little bit older than.
I mean, so is there any other examples of artists that you've seen in your career that you thought were just completely manufactured industry plants that fit the description? Because we were talking about this a while ago where it's like, who did this like came to your mind as like, that person was here for a reason?
You said that person was here for a reason?
Yeah, like this person's on my algorithm, this person's on my timeline, this song is pumping on Power 106 with Big Boy and those guys. Like, there's a reason why this is here, and I know why that person's there.
Anybody that I know personally?
They don't think it was one personal. Or just in general, being from LA.
Oh, got you.
Because there's a wave of music that's come and gone in LA that.
Right. So actually, I have a story about that.
Let's talk about it.
Well, let's talk about it. Not a story about somebody who got on, but I don't remember them going through the circuit, but at least once.
Okay.
That was Cause and Effect.
Really?
With Dreamville.
Really?
So he's from Inglewood.
I did not know that.
Right. He's from Inglewood. And my first time hearing about him, let me be fair here. My first time seeing him outside of one show bill that I hosted, by the way, with Electric Relaxation, I believe. Actually, no, that was what they later on went by. They had another name, but it was DJ Spill and DJ Mantron. DJ Spill ran it, though. Shout out to you, DJ Spill. He was on that bill, and he also had Anderson .Paak come through there, too. He wasn't going by Anderson .Paak at the time. He was going by Breezy Lovejoy.
Oh, is it when you saw the Free Nationals? Or pre-Free Nationals?
It's pre-Free Nationals.
Oh, really?
He might have been working with Free Nationals. They just weren't Free Nationals at the time.
Gotcha.
But I came through that circuit of hosting. Cause was a bill. He was on the bill for one of the shows I was hosting. He did okay. From what I remember, I don't remember much. I just remember going through my flyers and I saw that name. I said, I remember that night. I didn't see anybody that stood out like that. And then next time I see Cause, he's on the Dreamville mixtape. And I'm like, yo, when did that happen? So I don't know what he did in the background. I don't know how he got there. But all of a sudden, I just see Cause and Effect everywhere. Another Inglewood native. Like, where'd this dude come from? Like, so is it fair for me to say he's a plant, or did he just get did he grow in a different environment than I did?
I mean, like you once talked before, like everyone's journey is different.
Right.
Everyone's taking the freeway. Some people taking the streets.
I clearly
Some people
took
go
the
off-road.
back roads of the streets.
You went to the IE, you made a wrong left turn.
And got lost in Fresno.
How am I in Palm Springs?
Man, I'm in 21 Palms, Joshua Tree, and I'm lost. I'm stranded on the side of the road. That's what happened to me. But I think his journey was such. So I don't think people like that, like a cause, like I don't think they're industry plants more so, because again, we're all plants.
We're all plants.
I just think he grew up in his plant grew in a different environment than mine did. And it gave him more time to sprout, maybe a little bit faster, or just I don't know how strong his branches are. I would say his branches are pretty strong now because he's still with Dreamville. But at the time, I had to really come to that realization, like, he might have just put in a little bit more work than you.
Interesting. Saw a little Tupac in you right there, with a little concrete, rose in the concrete.
Well, we talked about this metaphor last night, man. I was like, yo, the industry plant is, I want to get away from that term because we're all industry plants at some point. It's really just comes to where your plant decides to come up and where you belong to be watered. Like, you could be on the lawn in the front, real nice and all that, but if you're a weed growing through the concrete, you're not supposed to be there.
No.
And if you don't pay attention, that weed can get pretty tall.
It can blossom to a very beautiful thing.
It could, but eventually that weed got to get plucked because it's not supposed to be there.
Exactly.
It can look like a dandelion for a second until somebody, well, dandelion gone, weed pulled.
I mean, it always comes down to we as artists. I mean, you're an artist, I'm a
But
DJ.
you're a DJ, yeah.
I consider it a bit of artistry, but
That is artistry. What?
yeah.
What did you say? That's the original. Come on, man.
Yeah, I get it.
You already know I'm hip-hop.
It's the elements of hip hop. I get
I
it.
am hip hop. The DJ will always matter.
I'm
DJ.
simply just a plant saying what I need to be sold.
Hey, but it need to be sold.
So
that's a double entendre metaphorical syndicate.
don't give me the booth later on.
Oh, look at it. Hey, look, you all know. He came up with the plant metaphor for this whole thing we're running with.
Touche.
Bars. Go ahead.
So we are consumers of music.
Yeah.
We're also contributors to the music industry.
Absolutely.
We're fans and artists at the same time. Not all of us are artists and fans. A lot of us are just purely fans of music.
That's true.
Do you think as a fan, do they care about the term industry plant? Because we talked about before, like, the game has shifted so much that it's almost good to be considered industry plant because it's good publicity about you. It's like people are talking about you.
Absolutely. You'll get talked about even more so.
But there's also times where as an artist and management teams got to defend that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I bring up Chance again because Chance is still fighting that same statement. There's still people that are still
I'm kind of not
fighting.
tapped in all the way like I should be into what's happening, but
And I think no matter how much they blossom as an artist, some people still like, they were put here for a reason.
Right.
And we hear about Russ. Like, some people call Russ, like, people say Russ was a plant because, his dad works for Columbia.
Right,
This and that.
right.
It's like,
he went on to say that in the interview too. Yeah.
So as a fan, I'm asking you as a fan, do you care? Or should fans even care about that term anymore?
I don't think fans are the ones that should be having this conversation.
Why is that?
Because in effect, the consumer, and that's essentially what they are the ones that ultimately decide if they stay or not. They are the gardeners in this landscape of plants. If you feel like this is not authentic, if you feel like this is not true to who this artist is presenting themselves to be, then you have every right to pluck that weed and put them off to the side. It shouldn't even be a matter of, they're a plant, that's why I'm taking them out. No, it's, did this resonate with you? Because MC Hammer.
Oh, trust me, I know about that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, MC Hammer is the music he put out versus the person he was in the streets. That didn't necessarily match up.
Hammer!
Right, but he was a dancer though.
Oh, he danced his ass off.
Right, he was a dancer, so the music he made did connect. But if you knew who Hammer was in the street, then it'd be like, wait a minute, but test that man's chin one time.
Hey.
If you get that close. I know you know. From the Bay.
Listen, anyone who can dance and beat the shit out of somebody.
Right, that's not somebody to mess with.
That's not somebody
when he would go toe-to-toe with at all. So I don't think fans are the ones that are having this conversation. Really, they picked it up from people like myself who are screaming industry plant. And again, the ones who are screaming industry plant are the ones who feel like they've got an unfair deal. They've got an unfair shake of the system.
So would you consider industry plans a new term of just hate?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because again, it's like, who are you to be on that level where I
Right.
should be there? It's like,
Exactly.
man, they were playing it. It's like, or you just simply hate it.
But, okay, let's take, I might go in another direction here. Taking somebody like I was about to say the wrong name, but I don't want to say Sexy Red.
Okay.
I've heard the narrative that Glorilla is where she's at because there's a larger conspiracy theory that we want to keep Black people in a certain place.
Which has been a history of Black culture through...
It's been the history of Black culture. Now, the conspiracy theory, I will agree with all day. There is a narrative that keeps us in a certain pocket in society. I don't think
they're part of it.
Sexy Red is part of it. Because, I mean, honestly, if you think about that, you giving her a lot of credit.
I mean, you're putting her up there with the same wiretaps of Malcolm
You know what I'm
X
saying?
and-
Like, the CIA is actually piping crack into the inner city. Like, really think about what you're saying about what Sexy Red is. Is it really that she's been put here to let us know we're supposed... Don't get it twisted. The narrative that she pushes does lend to the conversation of why are we still seen this way? But I think she's a product of, not the result. I mean, I'm sorry, excuse me. I think she's a product of that narrative as opposed to the initiator of said thing.
I mean, yeah, you talked about before, like, wherever you grew up in, that's your environment.
That's your...
Like, if you grew up in the
canvas.
woods, you grew up in the jungle, you grew up in the streets,
Right.
you're going to only talk about what you know. Now, a handful of people have always trying to stare out. Like, you always say, like, Kendrick is... What he raps about is totally polar opposite from where he's from. In some sense, where it's like an NW, like an Ice Cube or a Ice-T or YG, who
completely embraced it. But still the same line, though. There are people who embrace that lifestyle, like a YG. And there are some people who just, you know what? I think we can do better. Kendrick. In the same sense, Sexy Red is somebody who grew up in that environment, and I embrace it. I want to be ratchet. There is clearly a community of people who just want to be ratchet. That was, what's it called? The comedian? Tiffany Haddish's whole thing when she first came in was like just the ratchet element. Now, she grew up in that environment of foster homes and all that goodness. So that's what she knew. That's what she knew how to make comedy on. And that translated to where like it led to an audience of people who also talk like that. And another conversation we had is like, is she put in place to push the narrative that Black people belong in this lane? Okay, could be, but we still consume it.
And I always go back to this point with you about, that's why I said we enable this thing, everybody's a plant.
Right.
Because as long as we keep watching it, as long as we keep playing, but then the other flip side of the argument is always, well, they keep giving it to me, I have no choice but to watch it.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like the Tubi effect, the Tyler Perry effect. Like, if I keep throwing it in your face, and this is what Black excellence looks like to us, or just any excellence, no matter what nationality you come from,
Right.
whether it's good or bad, if it's constantly being pushed by the machine,
then eventually...
that means that plant is the human being pushing the button, the agenda to us? That we're putting on the same level as the conspiracy theory as...
So now you want to go to the inception level of...
I want to go to the fact that, are we saying that industry plans was a made-up term by the industry? To have this conversation.
I see where you go. He wants to go deep dive into this.
Is the term industry plan created by the industry to keep us talking about these, so that they can keep pushing a narrative that was already set in play?
Oh my God.
So that we can keep having this conversation about...
So that is a good theory. That's not a bad theory. Because, again, it comes down to what we believe that we actually have control over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what is control?
Huh?
What is control?
What is control? What is free will, right? Like, we want to get into the philosophical discussions.
I mean, we balance it with music and plus,
we're bouncing it a little bit. The quasars in the celestial cosmos, once they bounced off the fifth dimension and refracted off the fourth, we now see it in the third, which becomes blind to the second and the first.
You know, if you take the circumference of the Pythagorean and add the momentum of salt and pepper, you get industry plan.
I don't want to hear nobody ever say I could do voices when we got that guy Darius doing all the voices. No, that's an interesting theory, but I refuse to say that we as the people don't retain some type of control over what gets heard. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't hear the same thing over and over again. It gets pushed to us. At the end of the day, repetition works.
True.
It's the father of all. It's the father of learning.
Yeah, you got to put the shots in. You got to put the work in.
You got to put the work. You got to put the shots in. So if you get fed a thing enough, eventually, if you subscribe to it, you will believe it.
Oh yeah. I mean, we see that even now with AI and information, how people are presented to you on your timeline, in front of you in person.
I'm still not fooled by, talking about AI, deviating real quick. I'm still not fooled by these AI pages where they got the little beautiful girl and they got I see through that AI image.
But you got to remember, when you're part of the system of seeing it and doing it, there's a bell curve we always talk about. There's early adopters.
No, that's a fact. That's a
early
fact.
adopters.
That's a fact.
There's late adopters. You've been an early adopter of understanding what that is.
Yep.
So same thing with
That's
industry
a fact.
plan. You've been an early adopter understanding, listen, people work hard to get to this. Like,
Absolutely.
I hate the term industry plan. You're not
I
an
do.
industry plan. But those late adopters don't ever want to see, like, because we're always presenting the end result.
Right.
And I think that's like the navigating the future of like trends that we're always seeing of like artists. Like back in the day, we talked about it before, like Double XL, Source, like all the great hip hop groups, hip hop people, even like we talk about Prince, Rick James. You just had to know that people because the radio played it for you, or someone's like, yo, this person bad as a bad motherfucker. You gotta listen to him. Versus now it's like every 12 seconds, I get a new person every 12 seconds. And I have to find, do I invest in this person? Or are they just geared towards me because of the algorithm as a plant saying, well, you should listen to this person.
But see, again, if you bring up the algorithm moves off of what I feed it.
Exactly.
As a practitioner. So as a participant. So if I feed the algorithm, this is the type of stuff I like, that's what the algorithm is going to give me. And if this artist A or artist G fits into that algorithm, well, that's what we're going to feed you today.
So you think you control your algorithm?
Do I control my algorithm? To a certain extent. All right, I see where we're going with this one, Darius. Because
I say like the next 5 to 10 years, I'm always asking like, promoting artists, we talked about this last episode, 4 bats, shots of 4 bats.
Yeah, he got the industry plant.
And because he got the Drake.
The Drake feature.
Thing. And some people say, well, how'd that happen? Well, we all made that happen.
Yes.
Every one of us who saw
made him go viral.
Everyone who saw that music, that video of him with the mic and Scully, who thought he was going to be rapping his ass off.
Right. And he ended up sounding like a sample. Like that's.
And now it's like he has 3 songs.
Yeah.
And has over 1 million+ streams. And so people are like, someone's behind this.
Yeah.
Or every one of you motherfuckers who watching that video who kept sharing it, saying,
fed the algorithm.
The Kai Cenats, the Drakes, anyone who watched it and reposted it, every media platform that picked it up,
right?
You gave that kid
eyes and legs
that he didn't have.
Exactly.
And what every artist, and I always ask you this question, would love to have.
Absolutely.
But you gotta be prepared for it. So future trends that we see, the prediction of the algorithm being your control.
Yeah.
We talk about 4 bats.
Yeah.
Getting the co-sign by Drake.
Yeah. You were asking
people
about.
Label that in the next 5, 10 years, do you see that conversation changing? When we talk about everyone's a plant, like at some point does the fans realize you make things popular?
Right.
The machine, essentially the machine now is us. We have a phone.
We are the machine because they put it.
You got Spotify, you got Tidal, you got Apple. The more you push it, it's gonna happen. So as an artist for yourself, like, what do you see as a trend of the term industry plan, or what's that definition become later on in the next 5 to 10 years with technology changing, the way you present it?
Simply put, I think the term industry plant might take on different names. Just like the term ratchet, when I was growing up, used to be a gun. Then it turned into an attitude. A way, another way of saying hood rat, which is crazy. Now everybody wants to be ratchet. Now everybody can use the term ratchet. It used to just be for a chick. Now anybody can be ratchet. But the term takes on different meanings. I'm sorry. The meaning stays the same. The name gets changed along the way. So the essence of industry plant, just like we said earlier, sellout, now it's industry plant. So in essence, I don't think that's ever going to go away. What I think does need to change, what I hope changes, let me say what I hope and what I think will happen. What I hope happens, going back to the four-bats conversation and then people saying this looks fishy. What is it that we really want? We saw this kid go viral. We all have access to the same timeline, in essence, that everybody else does. Now, they have tweaked it so we all have our own personal algorithm. But if enough of us come together, like we did for Four Bats thing, and we all watch it, we all engage, we all share it, we all are looking in disbelief, like, oh my God, who is this? At a certain point, we all come to this collective brain meld, if you will, the 100 monkey theory. You know what I mean? And we all see it. So if I see it, Drake sees it, Drake is in a position where, yo, this is hot. I can actually do something about it as Drake. If I see it as Mark W. and I'm like, this is dope, there's only so much I can do.
Oh, yeah.
I can have you come on this show. I can have you meet Irv, the Don. I can have you talk to Darius. That's going to get you to another point. But if you can skip that and you can go to, hey, Drake, he has the highest level platform right now. I think the only next level above that would be a Dr. Dre.
Jay-Z,
yeah, exactly. You're already right there with me. So that's the only other place you can go. So if I am Drake and I could do this for somebody, and I'll tie this back in with Kendrick and Baby King, if I'm in that position, I can do that for him because I believe something can happen in this viral moment. And I think Budden said because Drake can hear himself being on that record. As narcissistic as that is, why not? And then as a person who helped contribute to that algorithm flood, why wouldn't I be excited for something like that?
True. I mean, it's always that give and take. I think that's where fans gotta understand, like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen not today, but tomorrow, next month. There's gonna be another Four Bats.
There's gonna be another one.
There's gonna be another Ice Spice. There's gonna be another.
We're gonna come to that in a second. Hold up.
Okay.
Before we get there, going with along that same line of being in a position to help somebody with Kendrick and Baby King. Now, I know why they gave Baby King the industry plant piece, because why didn't we hear about him? Why didn't we know he was related to, okay, that's just how they decided to spin it. It didn't necessarily last for too long. But if I am Kendrick Lamar and I think my cousin is halfway decent and he can actually do something, I'm going to exercise for nepotism.
Why not?
Sorry, I'm going to do that. If I'm in a position and my brother, I have two of them that make beats, DFK Pro, he goes by Fats Ra now, and then my brother, Minister High, he makes beats too. If I'm in a position where I can put them in a place to win, I'm going to do that, especially if I believe in their talent. That I believe that Kendrick believes in his cousin's talent.
I mean, you can say the thing about Chance's brother. Chance had a younger brother.
Absolutely.
Now, it doesn't guarantee success, though.
Exactly.
And I think that's where people get the conception of, just because you're so-and-so. It's like Michael Jordan's sons. We thought they would be the greatest things in the world.
But
we got duds.
But they weren't. we got
duds, man. I gonna lie.
But they weren't ready for that position.
Or do you feel they were, but when you're already part of the system, you're already used to, like, I got this. What's the hunger for? What's the hunger there anymore? Because
now that's a good concept.
Because if I'm part of the system already, like I always say, it's hardest to be in the shadow of the giant.
Yeah. Throwback, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and look that one up.
We'll put that in the description. It will be in the title.
Right.
Pops right there.
Where am I at? Just imagine my fingers pointing to the right point of the screen.
Where the Baby Kings, where he was around Kendrick, but he didn't come off as, well, I belong here.
Right.
He still had to prove himself as.
And he still did, though. Yeah. And I think that's what separates I'm supposed to be, that separates those who are hungry for it, who really have a passion for it, who are authentic to it, and those who just like, oh, well, my dad did it, so why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm proud of that myself. My dad is a phenomenal preacher, a pastor at a big mega church in Maryland, and he was a big preacher out here in LA. Then moved on to his own church in Irvine. Everybody who knows what I'm talking about, I'm not going to say the name of the church, but
don't want to blow it up.
Shout out to you. But everybody thought I was going to fall in line with it. I don't have a hunger for that. But imagine if I did get into that.
Yeah, people would be like, oh, he's supposed to do that.
Right. But I mean, just imagine. Here's the way I'm going for it. If I don't have the hunger for it, but I did it because, I can. How many people will look at me like a prosperity preacher or look at me like, oh, you just digging into the collection plate?
Oh, 100%.
Because the hunger and the drive isn't there. And that's what ends up happening with a lot of these people who are in position where the industry is all they know, and they think, I'm just supposed to be here. That's why I give respect to King, Baby King, because even though he had that lane, he decided, I'm not going to big up the fact that he's my cousin. I'm going to use the alley-oops he gives me.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to actually work myself into that. Now, he got a big leg up, like going on tour and doing big shows like that. It worked, but the songs were undeniable.
I mean, people forgot he worked on Damn.
That's true.
And that's the things he's
and he worked on the Black Panther soundtrack.
Yeah. He's like, I had to prove to my cousin that I'm capable of doing this.
Right.
I wouldn't show him no beats. I wouldn't play him nothing because if I thought it was whack, he's going to think it's whack. So It's like when you had that idea as an artist, knowing that you have at least a door open, he still looked at it as I still know it's not guaranteed. Versus some other people like, well, yeah, I know who you are. Let's work together. And so you talked about a lot about the artistry, stuff like that, and development.
Yeah,
like
but
Baby King, stuff like that, development. You've been, and the reason I asked you this question, like development versus grassroots growth. We had this conversation a while ago about like how do artists develop programs and work with each other? Like once you're part of the industry, or you get placed in a room full of all the other plants.
Yeah, right.
Is there a growth opportunity in the development program for these plants that are being groomed to become the next whatever?
There is artistry development programs right now. And I'm not even in the room with big people.
Gotcha.
So I've been hit up a bunch of times in my DMs by people who they're not gonna call it artist development programs, but that's what they're doing. It's art development. We can set you up with a photographer. We can get you in with this studio, this producer, connect you with these people, get you ready. So when the labels come in, we just need this much on the back end. And this is the package price that we have and all that. It does work. If you are first off, if you find yourself in an artist development program, you're in school.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're in an after school program.
Pretty much. What's one I was in? Sylvan's Learning Center?
That sounds like an after school program.
Yeah, it was like one of the math programs, the Math-tastics.
Did they have a commercial? It sounds like an IT tech.
Yeah, it was Sylvan's Learning Center. Yep, I went there for math, by the way. That's what I did. I also went to Study Institute. Shout out to all my SI folk. Listen, so it's school versus bumping your head, grassroots. So I went to college for 4 years after high school. I did not graduate. When I got back home, I went around bumping my head against everything to find out what would work. I found out I like audio engineering. That's what I'm going to do for my job. That will pay my bills. I did that for at least 15 years. So that was my grassroots. But it wasn't until I went to AI, shout out to Artist Institute, that I found out that I know exactly what I'm doing. All I didn't have was a lexicon. Obviously, they taught me some things here and there, but the grassroots taught me what the artist development program would have taught me within 6 months. It just takes longer. But I think if you go through an artist development program versus a grassroots, there's a couple things that happen. You don't have an appreciation for a lot of what you know. Somebody that went through grassroots, as a DJ, I'm sure you can appreciate this.
Talk to me.
Crates and Serato.
Mm-hmm.
You carry crates, right?
I have before.
You have. You have before, right? Okay, that's enough. So when you carried your crates to the party, even if you were an apprentice and you carried the person's crates to the party, as opposed to bringing your thumb drive, laptop,
as everything that you need,
as if not more, and then you don't need to swap records.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the same records, and then I'm gonna deviate a little bit. Jazzy Jeff took the fucking flash drive and put it on any surface. I don't even need to have it on the spindle. I can just spin it on my finger.
Yep.
And it's crazy. Anyway, you have a better appreciation for the need for a Serato or the practical use for a Serato as opposed to somebody who had never touched a crate. Or take it a step further, a controller versus tables. If you have a controller, the needle markers most of the time already marked out digitally somewhere. Whereas with tables, you probably had to put some tape, a little crayon. I'm sorry I gave away that nugget. My bad.
Oh no, we got vinyl that has marks already on it. It's,
Oh yeah, okay, cool. But I'm saying, but you see how far back I'm going with that. You did something to figure out where you need to drop your needle. Yes, you can get it there a lot faster with technology. Yes, you can get there a lot faster being in these artist development programs, but you don't have the same appreciation for that thing you know how to do like a grassroots person does. They got some scars to go along with that knowledge they got.
I mean, again, as an artist, it's always that hardship of understanding what's reality and what's not reality. In the sense of like...
Yeah, absolutely.
Because once you're in the door, a lot of us don't know what to do in that door.
Right.
And I think that's where the term industry plant becomes such a stronger term, where it's like, I saw you yesterday, now you hanging out with...
Yeah.
You hang out with Beyonce? But even though that may just be the illusion, I'm just next to her.
Ooh.
I didn't work with her. So it's like, what'd you do?
Right.
It's like, I didn't do nothing. It's like, now...
I got a good story for that. It's definitely an illusion.
Yeah.
So, like I've said before, I was in this group called Lost Dialect. We were on this program that Snoop... I feel like I've said this on the show before. I don't know if I have. If I have, my bad, you're going to hear it again. So we were on this show that Snoop hosted, Underground Heat. For all those who don't know, it was like a top 10 TRL, 106 in Park, that type of thing. And Snoop was hosting it. It was virtual.
Gotcha.
It was just him. Honestly, I thought he was really doing it live. It's just tapings of him doing the same thing in different backgrounds. Anyway, so our manager at the time knew the producer that worked on that show. So anytime we dropped the video, we got into the countdown. But there is a submission process, and there is a way you have to go throughout getting your video on there.
Interesting.
We knew without a shadow of doubt we were going to be on number 1 eventually, because we started off at number 4. We didn't start off at number 10. Our video came in at number 4. We knew we was going to get to number 1, but we have to sell the illusion of people want this. Now, we pushed it. We ended on our own, and we ended up getting those names under those videos. Like, hey, I want to see Lost Dialect. Hey, I want to see Lost Dialect. I want to see Lost Dialect. So it made the optics work. So there was never a sense of like, oh, y'all didn't earn it. We did and we didn't.
It's kind of like American Idol sometimes. That's how I feel about a lot of reality shows. There's any competition, there's some type of... The Voice is a good example for me.
Okay.
Because a lot of it was like, well, I used to be a backup singer for John Legend.
Right.
Wait, you know John Legend. Not like, I passed by John Legend.
Yeah.
And then John Legend pops up on screen, hey, congratulations, I hope you do well. It's like, wait a minute. That's
right.
And here I'm like, hi, I'm Timmy from Montana. I just started singing last week, but I'm competing against John Legend's former backup singer. So wish me good luck, vote for me.
That's crazy. No, it's that illusion. It does do a lot for the onlooking audience, and I'm sure it must do a lot for the artist who forgets that they're playing a game.
I mean,
look at how many people fake their numbers.
Oh,
so you fake your Instagram numbers, you fake your TikTok. Well, not you. I don't know if you can fake in TikTok numbers. Can you do that?
I'm sure you can. I mean,
at this point, you probably.
I'm sure you can.
You fake your Spotify numbers. You fake your streams. All that. By the way, I just got hit with a suspicious activity on my Spotify link. Feels like I don't like that.
That's kind of an industry plan thing because it talks about the system.
Oh man, so I'm starting like so many different threads right now. But well, let me finish this part. You juice your numbers, and then when 2 people show up to your concert, and you forget that you juiced your numbers, that could do so much to your ego if you forget you're playing the game. Speaking of not playing the game, see how I segued that there?
Talk about it.
So look, there is this big narrative of you have to get so many streams on your track before the end of the year before you can get paid your royalties out. I think that's bullshit. But to add to that, 89% of your streams have to be authentic. First off, I don't know why you don't want 100% of your streams to be authentic. That's just me. But at the same time, today I got hit with a suspicious activity on my song, Feels Like, on Spotify. To be fair, this is one of my first songs that ever did well. I don't really have good track records on my song. I think my songs are great. Of course I would. I wrote them and I put them out. I wouldn't put them out if I didn't think they were great. But to be fair with myself, I don't have a good track record with first month's release as far as numbers go. Well, this song currently sits at either 26 or 27,000, and it's still within the first 6 months of the release. That is good for me. I am surprised by it. I feel like now Spotify and these type of streaming platforms are penalizing those that might get a viral moment, that might get a spike in their growth that's unexpected because my other ones didn't perform as well in the same amount of time period.
You know, it's the job to make sure the music goes out to
even
people.
Though you're supposed to push it.
So you almost could say it's like someone had an inefficient fund. Someone stole your credit card.
Right.
Bought Taco Bell. And so like, well, Mark doesn't go to Taco Bell that much. So let's just cut you off.
Yeah, well, see, I actually like that they do that. Like if that happened to me one time, I'm like, I banked with, shout out to y'all for banking with y'all since I was in college the first time.
Don't know what it is, but boo.
So I went to I went to Food for Less. Was it Food for Less? Or might have been someplace else, my credit card got scanned. And I got a call when I was about to go on a date, and I'm waiting on the shorty to come downstairs, and I got a call, and they said, hey, there was $444 spent on your credit card at a Superior Grocery Mart. For those who don't know, Superior Grocery Mart's normally on the east side of town. I live on the west side of town. So I got a call, and they were like, yeah, this wasn't you, right? Because they know.
Hey, no.
Because you go to Food for Less on the west side. You don't go to Superior on the east side. No, I don't. So they shut off my card and they didn't let the thing go through. That I agree with.
But Spotify saw the same way.
But Spotify saying they on the same thing. Like, hey, you don't normally spend this.
Usually you don't do these type of numbers.
You don't spend these many times. You got to shut this shit down.
We're going to pause it for you real quick. But
fuck y'all.
I mean, for me personally, I think the terms don't always be there. The problem that you face is going to be there. The machine, like we're all plants.
Yeah.
We live behind plants. We are plants.
Absolutely.
We are consumption of the industry. Whether you like it or not, like I think Cardi B says, like, I have a lot of haters that still play my fucking music.
True.
And it's like, you guys keep saying you don't like me, but you keep pushing play, which all it does is benefit me and not you. But it gives you content to complain about how I'm not who I am. So
just like
if y'all want to keep doing that, keep doing it. I don't give a shit.
What Easy you say in Straight Outta Compton when they were like, oh, you see what they're doing on music? I don't give a fuck. Why? They already paid for it. You paid for it. Stomp it out. But in the same sense, yeah, if you're gonna hate, if you're listening to it, just like JJ Ice Fish, why do you think he got big as he did?
Hey man, something about you, girl.
All right, sorry, we had enough. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just one of those conversations. I think, especially in hip hop, I think it's even stronger. I mean, I would love to hear if country music has the same conversation. Does R&B have the same conversation?
Yeah. Well, actually, I think they do, man.
But I feel like as a culture, like, is it going back to being authentic? It was like, I know that person's authentic. There's no question about it. Because I always ask, like, does country have the same conversation? R&B have this conversation?
Here's where I think it differs, actually. If I can pontificate on the subject, I think pontificate on the subject. I think where it differs, though, is we worry in hip hop specifically. We worry about if the artist is authentic in delivering the message that they're giving. in other genres, I don't think they worry about that as much, more so than the emotion in which you're delivering said message.
I mean, I agree, but let's ask the fans in the comments section.
Yes.
If you're a fan of another genre besides hip hop and R&B, name a genre that you guys think that might have the same conversation of plants. Because I'll tell you who I always keep thinking of plant, but no one wants to agree with me. Rick Ross.
Rick Ross is a plant?
Yeah, yeah. And I say plant in the sense of we let a person slide for this long who we all have proof and seen that he worked in the prison system.
Right, he's a CEO.
He's a CEO.
He was literally a CEO.
CEO Ricky. And not even that, stole another man's name, image,
Look,
likeness.
Somebody who really
was about that life.
Really was with it.
Who Snowfall is based off, by the way.
Right, no, absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. I still haven't watched it, but I know the gist of it.
But I go back to your point where it's like, I feel like in hip hop, being authentic, sometimes we let some stuff just slide.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, talk about being authentic and letting something slide. We saw the authenticity of R. Kelly.
I mean,
We saw it.
Robert said every single thing, and we looked past it, and we just ignored it.
He said it for years. And then it got confirmed by video to age ain't nothing but a number. I don't see nothing wrong. And then it was like, oh, that's what you mean by age ain't nothing but a number. Oh, well, the music's still rocking. The music's still rocking. We gon' until it's like, all right, hey man, you still doing it. We gave you yeah, so the question, I'm sorry, I deviated. So the question to y'all in the comments, does any other genre outside of hip hop and R&B worry about their artists being authentic? That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the conversation of authenticity and industry plant something that's had in other genres outside of hip hop and R&B? I do want to know about that. Man, look. All right, we've had enough. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
I mean, I think we talked on. I mean, this conversation is going to continue
so long, and we could probably have it again. Like in the comments, if there's something we missed, if there's a topic that you think we probably should elaborate on, let us know in the comments. I mean, I can talk about it with you in there. And if it really gets deep, we can go longer with it. You know what I mean? No diddy.
Hey, yo.
We can get deep with it. No diddy. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Artistry Ascending this week right here on Track Life. I am your man, the meticulously multi-talented Mark W. Coming at you one more time yet again. How are you? Y'all know my producer, Darius. Make sure y'all follow this guy at that Darius guy. I think we had a good one this week. Yeah. If you want to be a plant, cool. If you don't want to be a plant, don't be. Everybody's a plant, though. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be. You could be a weed and get plucked because you don't belong there. That's cool. That's cool. But, just make sure you're growing in the right environment. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, tap in with me. You know I tap back. Peace.
All of my, I just want all of my chips.